All right, guys, we are live here for another PDOCS live stream. And as I mentioned a couple hours ago when I dropped the post, a couple weeks ago, I did a master class on the 13th, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago today. Last week I was out because I was dealing with some medical stuff, and you guys might have saw the post. I was in the urgent care last Wednesday and missed a couple of days of work. But anyway, as I was talking about last week, I left off, I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago when I left off, I kind of went through this document and all of the the messenger mastery, right? So I went through everything. So if anybody wants to go back and watch that one, it's here in this group. It's also within my YouTube channel, or just shoot me a DM if you can't find it. I'll shoot you a link. But I went through everything to do with the messaging mastery, right? Skills versus systems, all the things you see there, A through C, the frameworks and how to replicate, and the things below there, conversation flow, the sequential order, different approaches, warm versus cold, and covered all of that. Then I went on to go through and show you some live conversations and examples, but I kind of got cut off. Number one, I think I only went through two conversations. I went back and looked today, and I think I only went through one with a guy named Don and another one with Dwayne, if I'm not mistaken. And I had like six geared up to run through, so I'm going to try to get through more of those today. And there was a full another document that I never got to last time in terms of the messaging and some stuff I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm going to start with that. Then I'm going to go through some of the example conversations. And if I have time, I want to show you some of the stuff we're doing internally. Some of the metrics and daily bookings we're getting, through our processes. Some of the daily and monthly amount of revenue and sales we're driving in. And just show you some of the behind the scenes stuff if there's time. So, in addition, guys, I know I'm only a couple minutes in and I'm not monitoring right now. I will be checking back on my phone a couple times periodically. So if you have any questions, drop a comment. Let me know you're here, you're watching live, all that good stuff. And I'll be checking the comments periodically and answering any questions or, seeing if there's stuff you guys want me to go over in more depth. But in terms of mastering your messaging, right, as you can see the little, image on the screen, master your messaging, what I wanted to share with you guys and cover, and the only people that have probably ever seen this document is last summer, Fred Smith and myself ran a 5-day Master Your Messaging Challenge, right? That was a paid event. And basically, this is the document and the agenda and assets we put together for everybody, both in the structure of the curriculum and the content we are covering, but also some awesome extra resources, links, things that you guys may not be aware of. So when I left off last week, and I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, I'm going to keep saying last week because I'm used to doing them weekly. When I left off last live stream, I only got through that other document and I never got over to this one, as I mentioned. And I went through a lot of the frameworks, but, that was also one small document, and that was a 30 or 45-minute live stream. This particular document and everything that was covered here was over 5 days and 7 or 8 hours of curriculum, and really some high-level, masterclass in terms of, effective messaging. So I just want to run through and give you guys an overview of what I do if I'm doing an extensive workshop for 5 days working with somebody. So, and again, the way we start the challenge and what we ask all these participants is on day one, hey Bob, hey Joe, hey Bill, by the end of this day 5 in ideal world, what new messaging do you want launched? And, one guy, Steve, was like, hey, I'm writing some new ad copy. I want this new ad written and launched by the end of the week. This other guy was doing cold email stuff. Another participant was creating social media posts and wanted messaging for that. Another person wanted more specialized messaging for DM scripts and conversations. So regardless of the format or the channel, we made sure that everybody had the understanding and the frameworks and the trainings, the knowledge, the resources, and the support, so they would have that new messaging crafted and launched within the end of the 5 days. And everybody did. It was great, right? So no matter what I'm doing, a 5-day challenge, a high ticket coaching program, my PDOCS $50 a week, core program that we run, I like to set the right expectations early on in the program. That way somebody can judge on whether I delivered, and hell, I kind of strive to over deliver on my promise, but at minimum, what we all want to be doing is delivering on our promises. So let me get into it here, and then again, I'll go back and see who's watching, see if you guys have any questions or whatever. But let me start to dive into this and explain it so you're not just staring at a boring screen and a boring black and white Google Doc, right? But what we start off with Day one, right? It was really our prep work for the challenge, and we gave everybody in the curriculum and the tutorials on that day in the in the lesson understanding effective messaging. And think to yourself, it's very hard to craft, create, develop effective messaging if you don't understand what makes effective messaging or what makes messaging effective, right? Everything to do with the psychology, the terminology, the verbiage you're using, the wording. Again, it's a little different when we're using messaging in a short form B2B than on a long form story based B2C type of messaging, right? So, like, everything has its differences. And that's why you need to understand effective messaging as a whole so you can create it for basically any objective or any approach that you're looking to do, right? So, what we told people is we're going to eliminate any excuse, bottleneck, or reason for not seeing measured success from this challenge. And that's why we set the right expectations. But difference between crushing this challenge via, crushing this challenge with endless deals like clockwork or endless frustration comes down to two key things. And I don't have to read all the little stuff in between, right? But really, implementation of the training, right? So, you guys, I say this in everything, and we all know this. We could consume all the content and training, tutorials, master classes, live streams, coaching programs, whatever it is, documentaries, right? We could consume all the information in the world, but if we don't go implement it, execute on it, get better at it, practice, we're not going to see results, right? So no surprise here, obviously. Number two, knowing what to implement and when, right? So that's been a big problem for a lot of people, meaning kind of you jump right into this challenge, any program, head first without clear direction on exactly what levers to pull to see the most growth. Then you'll most likely just get overwhelmed, right? So we give people a clear path. So kind of how do we prepare for success? Number one, we give everybody their prep sheet and what to go over, on exactly the categories to prep for, and then make their own copy and edit accordingly. They're going to go in number one, and we give them the exact instructions, and this is the prep day and the prep work, but reverse engineer realistic KPIs. So very quickly off the top of my head, let's say my goal is to land 2 high-ticket 3K clients this month, right? Okay, so what's your close percentage? Well, I closed at 10%. Okay, so to close 2, we need to get on 20 sales calls, right? Cool. So to get 20 sales calls, how many conversations do you need to have with your ideal market, whether it's email, DM, how many conversations or emails do we need to send to get a booked call? Okay, well, to get a booked call, Ray, I need to get in conversations with 4 prospects. Every 4 prospect, I book about 25%. Okay, so basically reverse engineering your KPIs off what you just told me. You need to get in 80 conversations this month, book 20 of them into calls, and close 2 of them into deals, right? So now we can go know that we need to craft messaging that is going to lead us and generate us 80 conversations this month, right? Again, that's just very basic and off the top of my head, and I'm not going to have the time to bring up every document and run through them all, or I'll never get through what I want to here today. But then we assess and pressure test. By adjusting the numbers, you'll quickly see what's possible. So we give our students a sheet, and they can go in and say, okay, if my average order value is this much and I want to generate this much in revenue, it'll reverse engineer and show you how many conversations you have to come up with, right? And you might be like, oh, that's way out of my realm of possibility. Okay, if that's the case, then we need to either lower your goal or up your price, possibly, right? There's all kinds of things. We need to identify the needle movers and bottlenecks, right? And we give them a exact process on that. How to build out your ideal schedule. So as we tell them, now you know the exact KPIs you need to hit your goal, and you want to see how this is achievable and reverse engineer your schedule. So we show them, go into the Google Sheet that we provided them and click on the Schedule tab, right? And then we show them exactly how to block out their schedule, color coordinate it, and block out what we call your power hours. The way you can learn this is by going into this little link we provide there and taking what's called your chronotype test, and really seeing, it will kind of show you your personality and then where you're most productive throughout the day. And it's funny, if you do this, maybe a lot of you guys have done an exercise like this, maybe some of you have never done it, but it's really interesting when you do it and you see it and you're like, oh my God, like that is, what it told me. I already knew my power hours and when I'm most productive, which for me is between about 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., which is why most of my live streams, most of my master classes, most of my important calls, where I really need to show up and deliver, my best information, be the sharpest, just be my best, is in my power hours, and that's where I really deliver the best, and that's why I schedule all these live streams and master classes and stuff during those times, right? It's not just for when you show up, when you're most creative writing your copy and your messaging. Maybe when you're most active, doing that outreach so you can make sure you're hitting your 80 conversations per month. But it gives you the whole kind of framework on how to set your schedule, set up your week, and be most successful. And again, I don't want to go through all of this, but a lot of this is just going through, best practices. You're still seeing in here in bold, right? Red, blue, blue blocks, green blocks. This is still kind of going through the color coding and more about how to make your calendar most effective to really set you up for success. If you fail or you miss KPIs, we will give you framework, but and if you hit your KPIs, we'll begin increasing your goals, right? So, if we're not hitting KPIs right off the bat, we're going to readjust and give you a different framework for our particular students so they can hit. And if we begin hitting them consistently, we want to slowly and steadily, incrementally increase them, because we don't want to get content or complacent now that we've hit a goal and just keep it there, right? Once we hit a goal, we want to set the benchmark higher and higher so we always have goals, right? That was kind of all the prep work, and then we went into what I talked about, the real 4 or 5 aspects behind understanding effective messaging. So number one, the different concepts, right? What are the different concepts? And you guys can kind of scroll through and go back and slow this down. What are the different types of content, right? You guys all know we have long form, short form, storytelling, video, still image, text, yada, yada, yada. What are the psychology traits that go into effective messaging, and more so, how human nature and how individuals are going to respond to that, how to elicit responses, right? The objectives. So all of your messaging is going to have a different objective. Are we trying to educate? Are we just trying to raise awareness? Are we trying to convert people? Are we just trying to get engagement? Are we trying to build authority, right? What is the main objective? What platform or channel are we using in our messaging, right? As we all know, we're going to do things differently on social media than via cold email. We're going to have different messaging on a landing page than we're going to do in our organic or our DMs, right? All that kind of stuff. Then I give you one of my best frameworks for storytelling framework that I think works really well for a cold audience, tested and tried and true over 4 or 5 years of working with clients. Day 2 for messaging, one thing I've found that a lot of people overlook is they never really build a vision or purpose behind their messaging. They're like, oh, I just need to go create messaging so people buy my coaching or buy my supplement product or buy my baseball caps, whatever. But there needs to be a purpose and a vision behind that. And if not, you're always going to probably craft lackluster messaging, or you might craft one that works, but you're never going to be able to pivot it to other things because you really don't have a vision or purpose behind it. So we kind of give you the key aspects to how to do that, and that comes with a lot of research. We show our clients and our students in this challenge how to dive into the Facebook ads library, right? And really go in and reverse engineer some of your biggest competition in understanding the gaps and hooks and angles that are effective and that people are using and spending big money at, right? Research the ads library to find workhorse ads in your niche or industry. Think of category kings and industry leaders, top competitors. Here's a tutorial on how to go do that. Day 3, we actually got into the implementation of execution. So right halfway into the challenge, right in the middle of it, is when we start getting to the implementation and understanding now the stuff that we're going to actually go build out and get to work, right? So the frameworks and structures, everything that goes into it. Really, this 4-step process on rinse and repeat over and over again is what I do in almost all my copy. I just structure it different based off the channel, the platform, the type, the objective, right? All that stuff may change, but the frameworks really don't change, right? And then I go on and show examples of messaging that some of our students submitted and that we went in and, improved and made better. Or a post I covered and referenced at the end of a specific workshop was also included in that one. I don't know why I didn't really need to read that. Pretty much throughout our challenge, we also keep it very interactive, and people need to implement, as we said, and need to do the work. So almost every day we are submitting homework, right? Day 3, by day 3, they were already crafting their new messaging and sending it over and submitting it to us for feedback, which ties into day 4, which is optimization and organization. Now that we've crafted message, we need to optimize it and organize so going forward we can have multiple messaging craft. We can batch it out. We can build it into a structure, an SOP, which we gave people the slide deck and the pitch deck on all the lessons, and then the link to how to go build out their Trello star board where they can batch this all from draft to pre-publishing to ready to go, to batching winners and losers, to testing angles and hooks, right? It's all built into that Trello board for them. And then by day 5 of the challenge, everybody, if they didn't by the start of this session, they did by the end. And I think there was only 1 or 2 that didn't have it done by the beginning of the session, but day 5 was launch it. So by the end of day 5, at minimum, if not by the beginning, not only did everybody that participated, they will be or already have launched their new messaging campaigns, but more so they'll have the acumen and wherewithal to be able to continuously craft, fix, and or dial in messaging confidently and consistently from this day forward, right? So we dived into that day, going through a bit of a group interaction just to get a pulse of who hadn't finished their messaging, who had, why they hadn't, where it was at, giving people feedback and walking them through those last steps and those last hurdles if they had not yet, optimized it. Then we went through a client attraction blueprint. We went through my voice note and my voice note approach through DM that you guys have probably heard and seen me talk about many times. I'm not going to have time to dive in that here today. And then a full Q&A, commencement calls, one-on-one calls, so we could go back and review their messaging, see the feedback they've had after a week, and keep in contact. So that was a really valuable challenge, but that's all the stuff, all the aspects of messaging I dive into and I cover if I'm going deep in, in a deep dive, in this case, a 5-day multi-hour event rather than just, a 30 to 45 minute workshop. Now something I want to dive into, let me just see real quick. Again, if anyone's watching live and there's anything you want me to, anything you have questions on or you want me to cover in more depth, just let me know here in the comments. I'm going to go in real quick and check if we have any comments. I really did little, if any, publicity for this week's live stream, so I don't. Thank you, Aaron. The only comment I see, 23 views or viewers. Glad you're feeling better. Thank you, Aaron. Much glad to be feeling much better. 100%. I appreciate you, the kind words, and thank you for saying so. So great. No specific questions in there. So let's dive into some conversations and how they convert. And I'm going to dive into a couple different ones, right? But this guy reaches out to me first, which is great. Which happens, as you've been in this space longer, as you start running more email, as you start getting more followers, as I'm always running reels and shorts and stories and posts and YouTube videos and ads, there's just more and more channels and more content out there. So guys, I'll be totally honest, this happens more and more than it did in my first couple years in the industry and running online businesses. I get a lot more people reaching out to me for the initial message, which is great, right? That's what we all want. Does that mean I don't still generate a lot of cold outreach in the conversations? Hell no. I still do that a lot too, and I'll probably bring up examples of both. But, when it starts off like this, hey, Raymond, I've been considering trying out Audience Lab for my contractor and real estate business. I'm trying to make sure I understand exactly how it works based on the demo. From what I can tell, it looks like I can pull people searching for, Generac, generator, selling a home, etc. in target markets. Is that correct? Thanks. Yep, that's correct. You can do that and much more. Okay, awesome. I'm going out of town next week, but towards the end of March when I get back in town, I'm going to look into getting started with it. Do you have a pricing breakdown or a sales page that breaks it down? Yes, I do, but to be honest, it's a little complicated with the number of tiers and packages we offer, but I'm happy to explain and clarify. Now, I did make a mistake by telling him I like to be transparent. Plans start at $497 and up. I usually don't dive right into pricing like that, and I should have probably handled that better, actually looking back on it from what I teach and what I normally do. But regardless, I was just very, very upfront, but I just told him, I wasn't going to go through the whole pricing breakdown because it would be complex right now. If he doesn't really understand how our platform works, he's not going to understand all the different tiers and breakdowns. Cool. So he goes on to say, okay, cool. Let's maybe jump on a call in a couple of weeks or so if that works for you. Now, guys, we all get this from time to time, and usually that means, okay, this guy's never going to come back in my pipeline, right? But number one, he initiated the outreach, right? And number two, how you go from there is like, hey man, right on, works for me, just hit me up when the timing is good. Awesome, will do, appreciate it. So that was on March 5th. Then you'll see later in March on the 18th, so about a week ago now, a little over a week ago, hey Raymond, are you free at all tomorrow to run through the plans for me? Here's my team booking link. I'm sure one of my reps is available tomorrow. Perfect, thank you. Very clear, concise, succinct conversation. Went right into a booking, and he did end up, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'll check with my rep, but I'm almost positive he enrolled. Now, I realized I was having problems bringing up a couple of these conversations, so let me see if they all load. I know Raphael wouldn't, and I wanted to bring up that one. Let me check. Try to share a couple more of these really quickly. Yeah, that one was, I think, did I do the initial outreach? No, I think he might have, but I don't know. Let's go look. Okay, so I did. So this was a connection. I sent the initial voice note strategy and approach that I always do. He came back giving me a lot of information. I remember this message saying he'd been kind of shadow stalking me for a while and liked some of my sales and marketing training. And then he told me what he was looking to accomplish and looking for some more help with some sales stuff specifically. So I left him a voice note thanking him for watching my stuff. I think I was asking him some more stuff about exactly what he does. And then I recommended, hey man, if you're at all into getting better at sales, I'd recommend checking this out when you can, right? It's a bit lengthy, yes, but by far my best free sales training masterclass I've ever published, right? So he's like, I appreciate it. I'd respond in more depth right now, but taking the kiddos out for the afternoon, enjoying the beautiful day, right? Or taking the afternoon to enjoy the beautiful day with the kiddos. Nothing better than that, my man. Enjoy, right? But just somebody that a cold connection tells me what he's looking for, tells me he's seen some of my stuff, telling me he's looking for some more higher level sales training. I'm able to leave him a voice note explaining exactly what's included here. Then I drop it down below. I'm sure in that voice note I said something along the lines of, hey man, Joshua, not really sure where you're at, whether you're selling deals for yourself, whether you're a rep for another company, whether you're looking to build out a sales team. But any of those and more are covered in this highest level masterclass that I've delivered. And this is really the best free resource I can give to anybody that's going to help you level up your sales game. So I'm going to drop that link below. Would love to hear back some of your takeaways and thoughts about that, right? Very clear conversation where I can send somebody right to one of my valuable resources, lead magnets, etc., etc. This one just came in this week and was very, very short, but I'll just show you an example. Again, this is what happens by having more and more content out there and always be publishing stuff. So this just came in on Tuesday this week. He goes on to say, or he starts off saying, hey Ray, I've been watching a lot of your YouTube videos. I have a demo on the 28th. Looking forward to working with you guys. Is there any way we could get on a call? I could get on a call with you before then. So I remember when I first read this, I think I misread it. I honestly thought he asked if he could get on a call before the 28th with my team, like the calendar was backed up. So I was like, okay, cool, man. Yeah, let me go check the system and see what I can do. What email did you book with? And he sent me the email, and then he was like, I would love to chat with you, man. So I sent him back a voice note saying, yeah, I see you're booked in to speak with my rep, Mark. Why don't you go ahead and have that call, and I'd be happy to make some time to speak with you, after that. So I'll be following up with him Friday, which is the 28th. Either when I see notes from my rep or I know the call already happened and see if he still wants to talk with me or he already got everything answered. Couple of reasons I do that. Number one, I don't really take sales calls. I built the sales team. I have reps. I mean, I do periodically, and I jump back in for other reasons, but I don't just take sales calls. I don't like to step on my rep's toes and jump into a conversation and give this guy a bunch of information and confuse him more before the sales call. He's already booked on my rep's calendar, and my reps are perfectly capable in our sales process of walking him through and giving him all the information. So I want him to go through the steps that we've already invested in and set up, and a lot of the, what I'm talking about here today, the messaging and the funnel that we set up to get this guy through to his demo call, and then happy to meet with him after that if the case may be, right? So I could go through a couple more, but that was just a couple quick examples. Lastly, let me share some examples of what we're seeing internally. So I just brought this up on Slack. I think this was yesterday or the day before. Okay, one new message, because I get a message about every new call booking. So every time I come in here, there's always a new message, because we pretty much get new call bookings pretty consistently. So okay, this is a couple days ago. I just wanted to bring up one. This is my call booking channel within our Audience Lab, our Audience Lab Slack workspace. So you'll see the date here, March 25th. Calls booked via ads. March 24th. Calls booked via ads. We had 15 booked that day. We had 3 booked with our reactivation workshop nurture sequence. We spent $1,500 on ads that day. Our appointment cost was $97 per appointment. One no-show, one cancellation. So, like, that's what we do on rinse and repeat just with our paid ads and our reactivations or our nurture sequences. About 18 appointments on that day. I think on average, when everything's running perfectly, we're bringing in closer to 20 to 25, but that day did 18, whatever. Let's look into cash collected and like actual revenue and just being very transparent. So the last day here of March 25th, last EOD report, we see that particular day we had 7,200 cash collected by our sales team, 6,700 in new MRR, a total of 71,000 in new cash collected for the month, a total in 48,000 total in new MRR for the month. So again, this is all new revenue. None of our existing customers, none of the existing, hundreds of thousands in MRR already on our platform. That's just new sales each week, each month, each day, depending on what we're looking at reporting. So again, I can go through, I'd love to hear from you guys. What other metrics would you like me to show you? Would you like to see more of my sales reps metrics and tracking sheet? How many calls each rep's getting? What they're closing at? How much commissions they're making? Like, what other metrics and stuff would interest you guys? I'd be happy to run through and share some of that stuff going forward. And good. I did kind of keep this one short. I usually block out 45 minutes for this, but a new private client booked a one-on-one fulfillment call with myself, helping him run through his fastest path to cash and mapping out his business model since he joined our program. So I have that call right back to back. So I wanted to make sure I ended this one and gave myself a few minutes to prep and look up his account and give him the due diligence that is afforded to, all of my people, all of my clients and prospects before a call. So I'm going to make sure I hop off with that, but would love to hear again, whether you're watching, live here on Facebook, whether you're watching the replay, whether you're watching on YouTube, like the video, all that good stuff. But more importantly, leave me a comment of what else you'd like me to cover, more live conversations, more metrics, more training on, I'm not going to always be doing messaging, right? But messaging is an essential aspect of any business, getting it right. And dialing in the message to meet your market. Last thing, I'm going to leave you off with a tidbit of tip before I go back and check the comments one more time to see if there's any questions. As I did this Tuesday on my private client DAS workshop for a guy who was trying to get his messaging right, and I just reverse engineered it, and pretty much how I always do this, guys. Every business, every offer, I reverse engineer it by the outcome that they're looking for. So by working with you, whether they buy your product, your service, your software, your whatever, what is the outcome or result they're looking for? So let's start with that. Then let's reverse engineer it back from that. Before that, what is the obstacle that's stopping them from getting that result, that desire, that outcome, right? I just said it backwards. That desire, 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 the result, the outcome, right? Result and outcome. What's the obstacle or the challenge stopping them? And then reverse engineer one more place back to what's the big pain point? So what pain in their life is happening because this problem isn't getting solved, because they haven't found this ideal product? If you can always reverse it that way, big result or outcome they're looking for, obstacle that they're having trouble overcoming or that's in the way, and then the big pain point that is occurring in their life because of this problem. If we can do that, we can pretty much always craft effective messaging to speak to them, especially if you can do it within some of the frameworks that I've covered here today and went over. Let's go back in and just check this post. My apologies, jumped on a little late. When will the next challenge begin? So basically the next live challenge, I'm not sure. I think we'll be having another live challenge. Again, I can get back to you because I know you're in one of my school communities. That's under Jay Allen. So I will reply to you on the next live one. Now, the one I just went through, that Messaging Mastery Challenge, we recorded it all and put it all into a Kajabi portal, and we sell access for a fraction of the price of the people that join live. So you can still get that full challenge, all 8 hours of content, access to all those resources, that document, all the worksheets, all the stuff to, map out your scheduling, your chronotype, the slideshows, the YouTube tutorials, the Facebook ads workshop, reverse engineering or research and hacking, basically. We have all that for like $79. So if you're looking for like the workshop, the challenge to go through on your own time, we have that for like $79. I can drop the link below here, both in the Facebook and in the YouTube thread or description. If you want the next live challenge, Jay Allen, I will message you as soon as I'm sure. I was just discussing that with my team. We already have it kind of built out, but I don't know if we have the date solidified. So as soon as I know, I'll shoot you a message, and I'll drop the link below here shortly if you want to check out the full $79 challenge where you get access to all those things I just mentioned and more. So appreciate the question. Let me just double check. Yep, I don't see anything else in there in terms of comments. Looks like Jay Allen, you just saw my answer and put the thumbs up mark, so perfect. Yeah, man, so I will drop you the link. You can check it out, or I will shoot you a DM and let you know the next time we're running a live one. Appreciate you guys. We will see you here next Thursday. Just so you know, I think Jay Allen, you said you hopped on a little late. Not sure if I've seen you on these before. Every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, either in this group or if not in this group, sometimes when I have a special guest, I go live through my private Zoom room, and if so, I would have dropped the link in there and made everybody aware. But yeah, each Thursday, 2 p.m., either I'm blasting live into the group, or I drop my Zoom link and you join a more live participation or presentation where we have a little more collaboration and participation. So thanks for hopping on this week. Thanks for your questions and insight. I'll drop that information, and I will catch up with you guys next time.